Mars is in retrograde or whatever, like my wife, right? You do all that stuff, whatever it is, do it. I'm going to create this video. We're going to start today with this video. I highly recommend downloading this video, finding this video, and just playing for it every time you guys feel doubt, okay? How many of you guys know the person named Steve Harvey?
Yes.
Okay, good. So Steve Harvey went a little viral with some of his motivational talks, and the one that I'm going to show you right now is this video. They call it the jump video. And he talks about how people at some point need to jump to take 10 feet. Otherwise, it won't be here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I do want to start today off with this video because a lot of you have jumped already. I see some landings and stuff, so you get a picture of them, so you jump. A lot of you are still on that thing of like, am I going to do this? Am I going to take this to myself or not? And so what I like what Steve says here is what happens when you jump. Okay, it's a reality check of when you jump, and you just got to keep going forward, right? So let's watch this real quick, and then we're going to rock and roll.
I never have it on.
Let me tell you something that every successful person has to do, including you. Believe it or not, every successful person in this world has jumped. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. Eventually, you are going to have to jump. You cannot just exist in this life. You have got to try to live. If you are waking up thinking that there's got to be more to your life than it is, man, believe that it is. Believe in your heart of hearts that it is. But to get to that life, you're going to have to jump. Now, I'll tell you why I call it jump. See, God, when He created all of us, He gave every last one of us a gift at birth. He never created a soul without endowing them with a gift. You just got to quit looking at gifts as running, jumping, sing, and dance. It's more than that. It's if you know how to network, you can connect dots. If you draw, if you teach. Some of y'all fry chicken better than anybody else. Bake pie. Some of you cut hair, color hair. Some people do grass. I got a partner, man. Never wanted to go out with us because we stayed out too late. Come on, man, go out. Now I got to get up early morning cutting Miss Johnson's grass. We kept laughing at this dude. Cutting grass. How much they pay you? He got a landscaping company in Cleveland worth $4 million. Because all he do is cut grass. But he was gifted at it. I got a partner on a detail shop, make $800,000 a year. Detailing cars. He got 6 mobile trucks running around. $800,000 a year. All he do is detail cars. That's his gift. That's what he loves to do. You've got to identify that gift. Now listen to me. When you see people in life, when you're standing on the cliff of life, when you see people soaring by, you see people soaring, going to exotic places, you hear about them doing wonderful things. Maybe you look up the street and your neighbor just gets a car every year, every 2 years. You know, how's he doing that? Have you ever thought, maybe this person right here has identified their gift and is living in their gift? Because your Bible says, this is your Bible, says your gift will make room for you. Your gift, not your education. You go get an education, that's nice. But if you don't use your gift, that education only gonna take you so far. I know a lot of people got degrees, man, that they ain't even using. It's your gift. But the only way, if you don't ever use it, you're gonna just go to work. And if you get up going to work on a job every day that you hate going to, that ain't living, man. You just existed. At one point in time, you ought to see what living is like. But the only way to see what living is like, you gotta jump and hit a problem. Just be real. When you first jump, let me tell you something. Your parachute will not open right away. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you it did, but it don't. When you jump, it's not going to open right away. You're going to hit them rocks. You're going to get some skin tore off on the cliffs. You're going to get all your clothes tore off. You're going to get some cuts on you. You're going to be bleeding pretty bad. But eventually, the parachute has to open. That is a promise of God. That ain't a theory, that's a promise. His promises is true, because listen to me. You cannot name one single thing God has not gotten you through. Name it. And if he ain't got you through it, he currently pulling you through it right now. And the little proof of it is you sitting in here. If he hadn't got you through it, you wouldn't even be here. So if he ain't never not got you through it, why would he not let your parachute open? It has to open, man. But you gotta jump though. Now, here's another thing. You can play it safe and deal without the cuts and the tags. And you can stand on that cliff of life forever safe. But if you don't jump, I got another promise I can make. Your parachute will never open. You'll never know. You'll never know what God really has. See, your God has a wonderful life for you. Once again, don't refer to your God. Now, you go down there and you memorize these scriptures, you don't apply them to yourself. Your Bible says that he comes to give you life and give you life more abundantly. If I were you, I would jump. Because that's the only way to get to that abundant life. You got to jump, man. You got to take a chance. Now, when I get through talking, there are those of you who discuss this in the car. Well, I got bills. And I got bills. Whether you stay on the cliff or you jump, you're going to have bills. Well, if I quit my job, I'm going to ruin my credit. If you got a job, you live in check to check. Even if you got that one credit, you can't buy nothing else no damn way. So go one time and do yourself a favor. Go see what God really do. God hold you up, man. He ain't gonna let you fall. He ain't bring you this far and let you fall. Do yourself a favor, man. Before you leave this world, before you die, jump. Just jump one time. Just jump. Thank you very much.
Pretty good, huh? Pretty good. All right, so my mentor was the one who sent me that video. It's my go-to anytime I'm having a hard time. And like I said, some of you I can see you've already jumped. You got your landings on, right? You got your paperwork kind of stuff. You're moving forward. I appreciate that. I congratulate you. Those of you that are still thinking about this, how many of you guys went home last night and you're like, well, I got bills. Like, if I do this, I don't know if I can do this because I got other bills I got to pay. I got all this other stuff I got to do. You're always going to have it, okay? When I left the police department, everybody asked me, like, how are you going to have health insurance? It's like, well, I think they'll offer it to a business owner. I think it's okay that way, right? So I still have health insurance. I still got bills. But what I can tell you is it is true. Your parachute won't open right away. But it will open eventually, all right? So whatever you guys got to do to stay motivated and keep going forward, please do it. I asked you guys in the beginning, please commit 6 months to a year in this business. And I promise you, it'll be life-changing. You'll have a view on what's going on in this market and opportunities like no other. And come 2025, 2026, it's going to be pretty exciting times. Pretty exciting times, okay? So especially if you're prepared for it. All right, let's rock and roll. So we went through education, we've gone through passive versus earned. I want to make sure we're staying on our path here of our business model. Talk about tools of a pro and expert advice. So these two things we're going to go over again, passive, especially on the passive side, and on the earned side today when we are making money passively, making money on the earned side. How do we keep it? How do we multiply it? How do we never pay tax on it, right? So first, how do we make it? How do we keep it? How do we multiply it? We're going to go back to the marketplace. We're going to talk a little bit more about raising capital in our business. We went over acquisition exit strategies, which we'll talk a little bit more about today, and how we're going to define which one's going to be passive, which one's going to be earned. And then all in all, to bring all this together is how do we protect every last dime of it, okay? When I'm talking to you about my lawsuit, I promise you I'm not trying to tell you a story. All right, I'm telling you the story of it to help you understand why we do this and why it's so important to incorporate it, especially in the business. Because if not, it could wipe you clean. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
It'll wipe you out. If you don't do this right, like I was talking to bankruptcy attorneys, we were looking at filing. It got to that point where I was like, we're going to have to just wipe this out. This isn't going to be good. Thankfully, we got through it. I'll show you exactly how we do that. All right, fresh sheet of paper, line right down the middle. We're going to make a little ledger here. The way the IRS works by definition. What they try to do every single day of their life is they try to identify your money so they know how to tax it. You guys know these forms we fill out, 1099, 1040s, W-2s, W-9s, all this stuff, K-1s. All those codes are is basically to tell the IRS how much they can take from you. That's all that is. It's all code for the IRS to be like, ooh, this one I'm gonna tax this much, I'm gonna tax this much over here, this much over here. Okay? So, the way the IRS looks at this is two ways. Short-term versus long-term. Okay, short-term versus long-term. Now, on the short-term side, it is identified in the tax code as what's known as ordinary income. Ordinary income. Ordinary or personal income. On the long-term side, it is identified as passive. Okay, passive. So things that would be under the ordinary definition is stuff like an operating company, commissions, wages, salaries, sales of goods, providing a service or service-based business. All right, so real estate agents that are getting a commission, that's a service-based business. That's commissions. Dentists, chiropractors, people that own their own practice, that's a service-based business. That's money coming in the company for providing the service, right? So that's ordinary income. You have to figure out how to decrease the tax within that ordinary income. And I'm going to show you how. I'm going to now understand this too, guys and gals. What I'm going to show you today, I'm not a financial advisor or tax advisor. We're all clear on that, yes? So I'm not giving you the advice of how you're going to run your company. I'm showing you how I do mine and why I do mine, the motives that I have behind doing it the way I do it. Okay, so what I'm saying to you guys is the motive here is any type of service that I provide, and I make money in that service-based business, the whole goal is to eliminate the tax that I would pay on that money. Okay, Brian Peterson pays me to be here. Right? This is a service-based business that I have. I had to incorporate for him to pay me this money to be here, because I'd be damned if you try paying Brian Siegel. We utilize, you will at some point, depending on the asset holdings that you end up generating through this company, through this business that you're going to create, you will at some point have what's called a holding company, or qualify to have what's known as a series LLC. That series LLC can have multiple hundreds of LLCs underneath it. And I'll walk you through some of the strategies that some people have on this. There was a specific deal that Juan and I were looking at in San Antonio, that the guy had this one property held within a series LLC. And I'll show you how he structured it. So on the limited liability side, what happens with the government is when you incorporate in this business, let's say you want to do deeds. Your whole purpose is to go out there, find land, flip land, sell off property, do whatever. You want deeds, you don't want liens to start, you want to do deeds. Well, you're going to run that whole business this next year in an LLC. And at the end of the year, your tax advisor, if they're really good, they're going to see how much money came in and out of that account, and they will recommend to you to retroactive the LLC into a S election. An S election, so S corporation election. You're basically electing the LLC to be taxed S. And what that does is, so what the government allows is you run a complete business as an S corp, as an LLC, so you pay the smaller fee. It's a small fee to open up an LLC to incorporate throughout the entire year. And what they'll do is at the end of the year, depending on how much money came through that business, it can essentially qualify, is what you'll hear. It qualifies to be an S selection. And the reason why it would qualify is because there are fees, maintenance fees that you have to pay on an S corporation that you will not pay on an LLC. Temperature check, are you guys tracking with me so far?
Yes.
Everybody tracking?
Yes.
Okay. I know I'm gonna throw a lot at you here, and then we're gonna open up for questions, but I just wanna make sure you guys are tracking. So we can incorporate, we can leave, and on Monday, call up a real estate attorney and say, hey, I want an LLC, I want to incorporate. You're not gonna do this on LegalZoom. Okay, no LegalZoom entities, please. I'll tell you right now, I don't trust myself to open up my own LLC when it comes to real estate holdings. Does that make sense? This is a professional real estate business. Please hire an attorney to do so. All right, incorporate the right way. So on Monday, you incorporate. You're going to run an LLC. This next year is going to be an LLC. At the end of the year, if enough money came in and out of that account, you flipped a decent amount of properties. Good tax writer is going to say, hey, let's go ahead and do an S election on this LLC, and the government will allow you then to have that LLC taxed as an S corp for that entire year. It's freaking awesome. Okay? So I know a lot of times you're like, I hate the government, blah, 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 blah. No, you're in bed with the government now. You are doing business with the government based off the rules that they are applying, okay? You don't have to like them, right? Like, how many Dallas Cowboy fans do we have in here? Are we willing to? Good, okay, good, all right, cool. And who's the right, I'm not a big football person, right? I watch finance stuff. So who's the rival of the Dallas Cowboys? Like, who's like the main rival? Steelers? What was it?
49.
49ers? So screw the 49ers, right? Somebody's looking at me right now, like, I'm gonna punch you in the face. So you don't have to like the 49ers if you're a Cowboys fan, but you're gonna play on the same football field and try to win. Does that make sense? You don't have to like the other team. But we're playing the same game and we wanna win. So that's what we're doing here. So the government's gonna allow you on that LLC to retroactive the LLC to be tax escrow to take care of all the tax benefits. So again, the LLC, what I'm gonna show you right now, is how it protects our assets. So you don't lose your assets. Does that make sense? So for example, this LLC right here, limited liability company, let's just call this a holding company, and we'll name this holding company AB entity. When you guys incorporate, do not get caught up on the business name, all right? There's this whole thing about like, well, I gotta have a good name with a good jingle, and good branding and good marketing. No, you don't. There's a brand, and then there's a business name. Does that make sense? Air Jordan, Nike shoes, completely different, right? Because Nike has other shoes that aren't Air Jordans, they don't sell the same. Does that make sense? So there's brand and there's a business name. So we're gonna just call this one right here AB entity, and this LLC can hold multiple other LLCs. And you might want to start asking, so I get a couple questions like this. Well, should I put every single one of my rental properties into a different LLC? Well, it depends. It depends on the asset itself, and it depends on the toxicity of that asset. Is it super high liability? Does it not have a whole lot of liability? Like, what's the issue with the property itself? If you're like my man Grant Cardone, who buys A+ rated apartment complexes and condos, you can have that entire thing into one LLC, one holding company. So what I mean by the series side is Juan and I were looking at purchasing this 42 unit in San Antonio, downtown San Antonio. And when we were doing the research on the property, and we got the rent rolls, and we were looking at the P&Ls and stuff on the property, what we saw was registered on that property was 45 LLCs. We're like, what the hell's going on here? So when we talked to the owner, we said, hey, what's up? Well, this whole property was Section 8. Every single tenant in there, the whole unit was a Section 8 unit. And what this guy did was he had one LLC holding company that held the property. He had an LLC that held the parking lot. And then he had 42 LLCs on every single door. So every door was its own LLC. And then he had an LLC that controlled the foyer and open areas inside the building. So what happens there is that if anything were to, let's say, an injury in one of the apartments, well, what it looks like is layers of protection. So if this was one of the doors and somebody gets hurt in that door and they want to sue this person, well, the only thing they're going to get is what's inside that door. This is called inside-outside protection. If they want the holding company, if they want to try to get the whole building, they have to file a lawsuit inside LLC 1, and they have to file what's called a discovery. A discovery, if approved by the court, allows that plaintiff, that person, to pierce the corporate veil. You guys ever heard that before?
Yeah.
Piercing the corporate veil. So filing this discovery inside LLC 1, if they allow for the discovery, they would have to pierce this corporate veil. Upon piercing that corporate veil, this owner would have to disclose everything that they have, all their assets. Okay? So this then goes back to, we own nothing, but control everything. So if this LLC 1 gets a lawsuit, files a discovery, and they pop outside of this thing, and it shows that it's being held by this company. This now goes to the reason as to why some people hold a registered agent company in other states. Why you hear people say, I have a Nevada corp, or I have a Delaware corp, or I've got a Montana or Wyoming. And that business is operating in Texas, or Florida, or Illinois, okay? So this is why you hear that stuff. So in my lawsuit, what happened was, in the San Antonio guy, what he did was essentially protected his entire asset by putting all the units into one because of the level of toxicity that he had inside the unit, which wasn't a whole lot, in fact, because most of the people in there were, it was more like senior living, senior citizen living, than it was like just normal, regular Section 8. So it was kind of interesting how he did it, but he basically put layers of protection on the building. In my lawsuit, I had a Nevada corp working in Illinois, flipping a property. In this LLC, it was the only property that we were holding that we were flipping. And we actually weren't flipping any other properties at this time. And what happened was, I was working with a lender who I've been working with for 5-6 years now. He was giving me the majority of the money of all my flips. And unbeknownst to me, so he gave me the money to flip this property. This was our big property, 13,500 square feet. It was a $650,000 purchase. And we're putting $200,000 into it. The house was worth $1.4 million, okay, on the low end. So we were doing good. Like, this was a good project, but it was a big project. Well, my lender didn't tell me this. He hired a guy, and for all intents and purposes of the story, we're just going to call him Dum Dum. So he hired this guy named Dum Dum, and he was a general contractor. But he was a general contractor that built and manages hospital buildings. So he would build hospitals. Now, I don't care who you are. If you build hospitals, that's not flipping houses. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't know two things about flipping a house if you come from a world of building hospitals. You will never see me, a house flipper, go to a construction site that's building this hotel and be like, guys, relax, I flip houses, I can manage this. Not a chance in hell, okay? It's a totally different business. What my lender Steve did, he hired this guy to have him oversee the receivables and the draws and the payments that were going out to all the investors. And Dum Dum just had the luck of the draw to pick me to try to make an example out of. This house that we were doing was number 1,251, basically, in Illinois. We've done a lot of houses, okay? Year to date, I think we've done close to 1,600 homes. Either flip, bought, sold, rent, wholesale. Personally, been involved in over 1,600 transactions. This was at the tail end of our flipping business because we were holding a lot more. So he called me up one day and said, hey, we gave you $50,000 the other day for windows. I don't see the windows on the building, on the home. And the first thing I said is, I'm sorry, who's this? The guy didn't even introduce himself. We called it, so I knew this was going to be bad. And he said, I'm Dum Dum. I work with Steve, and I'm overseeing the draws of the money that's going out into the accounts. And I said, oh, are you here in Illinois? Because he said, we gave you money, I don't see the windows on the house. And he says, no, I'm in Nevada. So how do you know if the windows aren't on the house? He says, well, I sent my buddy out there who's a contractor to look and send me pictures. We don't see the windows on the house. And I'm like, this is a house. We received the delivery of the windows yesterday. How the hell are we going to put 36 windows up in one day? Okay? So this conversation started going back and forth, and we were butting heads. Egos are involved. Okay? I was pretty immature at this time, too. So I was like, I'm going to show this guy. Well, unbeknownst to me, Dum Dum was chirping in the ear of my buddy Steve, saying, Brian is taking the money from this job and putting it on another job, and he's slow rolling this job. He's slow rolling the job. Steve got upset and didn't verify, and I got an email a week later, 2 weeks later, basically saying cease and desist. Wow. And I'm like, excuse me? And it was from his attorney saying, we're taking over the project, you could not fulfill your responsibility on it. So this is really interesting to think about. If you have a lender who gave you money on a property that you own now, can the lender lock you out of that house?
No.
You own it. It's a loan that I got to own the property. It's my property, it's in my business name.
Does the
Okay,
lender
so
have a?
I own the property. Can a lender lock me out and kick me off the project?
Yes.
What do they have to do if they want that project back? Because they can't lock me out, guys. What's the legal action they have to do to lock me out?
Foreclose.
You're close. What is a TDA? Foreclosure. There it is. So he doesn't need a TDA on me because this is an auction. But this lender, if they want to take the project over, they have to foreclose. They can't take a project back over from you guys. There's a law out there called self-help. And banks cannot self-help in any of their projects. They have to do legal action, foreclose on a property to take the property back. Case in point, you live in houses right now that you have mortgages on. The bank can't call you up and say, hey, you gotta get out, we're taking over. You gotta leave. That's called a landlord-tenant lockout. Okay, which is also illegal. Okay, you can't do it. So I got this really scary email from the attorney, and this is where power team comes into play. So I call my attorney. And I said, we need to talk, and I sent him an email, he says, come to my office, I go to his office, when I open up the door to his office, he's there smiling and says, sit down, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're smiling about right now, like, I'm pissed, and I'm freaking out, and I'm about to lose my mind, and he's all happy. So he told me about self-help, he says, this lender's in the wrong, can't do this, don't worry, you pay me to send threatening letters, so I'm gonna send a threatening letter back. So the threatening letters between the attorneys started going back and forth. Sure enough, they thought they were in the right, they shut it down, and my attorney said, let it play out. So my attorney said, back off the property, let them run this, let them take it over, let them sell the property for less than what it's worth. I had about $180,000 floating on the property, so I was scared. And he said, just let it play out. This lawsuit went from a $900,000 lawsuit to a $1.3 million lawsuit over a 2-year period. Freaking out. I had my business set up like this, in Nevada court, holding a LLC inside Illinois, operating his business. During this lawsuit, he filed a discovery, okay? And they approved it, so he pierced the corporate veil. This has never happened to me. So now I'm losing weight by the minute, okay, I'm sweating. And my attorney is assuring me, you are set up properly, don't worry. I'm one of those guys that has to see pictures. So I'm like, show me how I shouldn't worry. Well, the lawsuit, when he pierced this corporate veil, I had to disclose my assets. So what you guys don't see on the screen here is the screen itself is a land trust. So my short-term business and my long-term business are held inside this land trust. How many have ever heard of a land trust? Okay, so I do land trusts, and this is why. When you create a land trust, it's an attorney that will create it for you. They are known as the trustee. When the land trust is filed, the attorney, who's the trustee, retires the position of trustee. You become the successor of the trust. The law states nowhere does that have to be publicly notified or published. So the attorney's the trustee, you're the successor. When the attorney files for the trust and it's complete, he or she will automatically retire the position of trustee. So they no longer are on the trust. It automatically then moves to you as the successor. But the law states nowhere does that have to be publicly notified or published. So he still looks like he's the trustee on my land trust. And if you go to sue him, you have to try to find my land trust. My land trust is a SKU number. And my attorney files about 1,000 of these land trusts per year. Good luck. Okay? So what happened was, when he got out of my LLC there, it showed that it was being held by a Nevada company. Here's the other layer of protection. So they now have to go to Nevada and file a lawsuit to the holding company to get inside the holding company to see all the other assets that it's holding. So I don't know if you guys know this, the reason why we incorporate Nevada a lot of times is because it's ran by the mafia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the whole thing about Nevada.
They don't say.
Yeah. So my last name, you guys haven't put the dots together yet, is Siegel.
Benny.
In my family tree, somehow, some way, I'm related to Bugsy Siegel. Okay? Why do you think I keep saying like my mom and dad are things? Okay? So
My mom.
Nevada, the reason why we incorporated Nevada is because it's ran by the mafia, so the privacy laws there are very thick. So what happened was my Nevada lender, okay, he's in Nevada, filed a lawsuit LLC 1, Pierce Corporate Veil, has to file a lawsuit, goes to Nevada and says, hey, open up the doors. My registered agent says to them, we don't recognize Illinois lawsuits. Can't come in. In order for them to get inside the asset holding company in Nevada, they have to then file another lawsuit inside Nevada. A whole another process, which is a whole nother set of money. This is why when you guys have rental properties, when you incorporate, if a lawsuit happens, they don't get anything. The homeowner's insurance that you have on those properties will cover any medical expenses. Now, I also saw this firsthand. My mom is an absolute gangster. She's a thug, okay? Patricia Cortez Sigo. She was walking down Walmart one day, and she saw a puddle of, this is no joke, this literally happened. Sees a puddle of water, and Walmart has tile floors. So in her head, she said, I'm gonna own Walmart.
She took the fall.
Goes down, right? Slips, falls, ambulance comes, hurts her back, transferred to the hospital, I get a phone call. I show up to the hospital, Mom, are you okay? She's like, I'm amazing. And I'm like, what happened? She's like, I'm gonna own Walmart. And right away, I'm like, no, you're not. You're not gonna own Walmart. So if you guys, the Waltons, the way they have their businesses set up, Walmart doesn't own Walmart. Okay? It's owned by a different company. If you guys go downstairs in the hotel here, this is Hilton, owned by another company. Layers of protection. So the lawsuit stopped into that. However, now this is what's crazy. So I'm gonna have you guys write another thing down for you guys to protect your assets. So when you use a hard money lender in this business, if you're gonna use hard money lender or private lenders, they will have you sign what's called a personal guarantee. A personal guarantee is known as a recourse loan. Recourse loan. Okay, it's a recourse loan. When you sign a personal guarantee, you are stating, I, Brian Siegel, guarantee the success of this property or this investment. And I, Brian Siegel, am responsible for the money on this investment. Part of me doing that, I have to put in my personal information, including the house that I live in. All right? So the house was within my trust, which through the lawsuit he could not find. But because of the personal guarantee, he had access to. Does that make sense to everybody? So my attorney knew when we were sitting down in the office that day that he was smiling. He stopped smiling when he realized the personal guarantee was on the property and stated, he asked me this one simple question: how do you hold title on your house? And so we talked about it. He's like, how do you hold title on your property? He said, it's mine and my wife's name. It's in our name. He says, okay, this is what you all are going to do if you own a personal property. You're going to go down to the county and you're going to make sure first, you call an attorney for this. You want to make sure that they do this, which I believe here in Texas they do. You are going to hold title on your property as joint tenants. Joint tenants. In some states, they allow joint tenancy by the entirety. Joint tenancy by the entirety. Okay, so if you own a personal residence, you should be holding that property as title of joint tenants with you and your partner, your spouse. If you are not married, you can do it with a child, a family member. They just have to be 18 years of age. That being said, the repercussion of that is they have 50% ownership of that property. Does that make sense? So the reason why he told me to do this, and I didn't know this prior. We've been in the business now 7-8 years or something. I've never heard about the joint tenant stuff. This is why I say I'm not an expert. I learn something new every single day in this business. There's just too much. Okay? So joint tenancy, what happened was my attorney knew he was gonna try slapping liens on everything and anything that he could find that I own personally. Okay, I only own one thing right now in my name that's sitting at the DFW parking lot right now. Okay? And so what happened was, on the joint tenancy by the entirety, it gives 50-50 ownership of that property. Any lawsuit that comes against me, which in this business, I'm the only owner on that business, because my wife became a licensed real estate agent, and as a licensed real estate agent, you have to divulge or disclose all of your stuff because you're a fiduciary. The broker wanted all my marketing material for a business, so I said, because she was part of my business. So I fired her. It was awesome. I was like, you're fired! I said it like 15 times too. She's like, you are not going to sleep in this bed today. So she's off the business. This is my business. When he slapped the lien on the property, because it was against me and not her, the title company and the county would not accept it. It keeps liens away from the property, your personal property, from creditors by having a joint tenant. Now you cannot do this with a pet. I have to say that because I did have a student say, can I put my dog in the joint? No. Dogs, cats, birds do not qualify. So having a joint tenancy for crediting purposes, if you file like bankruptcies, things like this, or you have like a creditor coming after you, they now cannot put a lien on that property because the debt is against you and not your partner. Does that make sense, everybody? So joint tenancy or joint tenancy by the entirety, you have to find out from your county if they allow the entirety. Okay, what's the difference between the two? I honestly haven't gone down that road. I just saw that we can do it by the entirety, so I said, do it, and I paid the fee to do it, okay? So joint tenancy by the entirety. So he slapped a lien on my house, it did not succeed, so then he slapped a lien on my car. Now, the car that I have in my name is a 2012 pearl white hatchback Toyota Prius with 200,000 miles on it. It was my LAPD commuter car, and it is now my airport parking lot car because I'm damned if I'm ever going to put my tax write-off in that parking lot. All right, so I have my tax write-off family wagon, and my wife has her family wagon tax write-off, right? Because in our businesses, you have those write-offs. It's IRS code 179, it's restricted with vehicles over 6,000 pounds. So this dude literally slapped a $980,000 lawsuit before it was $1 million and $1.3 million on a 2012 Toyota Prius. So I called him up and I said, dude, let's settle now, give me the car. I'll settle right now. Like, you want? He's like, screw you, I'm gonna take that car and your dog. Like, he just wanted everything. And the car's worth like maybe $500. Okay, like my daughter's gonna drive it when she gets her license. If it's still around, hopefully things gonna blow up soon. So he put the lien on the car, he couldn't put the lien on the house. Because once the joint tenancy was on there, it stopped, he couldn't even see if it was in a trust or anything else. So that's how he had access to my house because of the personal guarantee. Now my homes that I own, the homes that my wife owns, they're in this land trust. Okay? The house that we sleep in is actually owned by our LLC. So we rent from my business. So we show no ownership. Does that make sense? I actually read this from Grant. Grant Cardone taught me this one. So we have a business that owns our property. That property is held within a business and it needs tenants. So we rent from that business. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to ask me, hey, do I own property? No, I don't. I don't own property. I'm too scared to own property. Now my wife, the way that she structures her property is totally different. It's in a different land trust. It's in her own land trust. And that trust has beneficiaries of that estate, which I'm one, I'm an executor, and then my children are the beneficiaries of those homes. So the thing about the trust that we really like is the beneficiary aspect of a trust. So now if we die, all of our assets will not go to probate. That's the whole point of having a trust and or having the LLCs. I know some of you in here might have a will. Is that correct? You guys have a will. Okay. The will is actually designed to go to probate. It forces your stuff to go to probate. The will states, I don't trust any of my family to divvy up our assets properly, so I'm going to give it to the court. The court's going to appraise the assets, pay off all the debts owed, and whatever is left over will then go to my family. That's what a will does. Okay? And it does kind of blow my mind. I talked to my attorney about this to find out why they were doing it. My attorney can be a little bit biased, so whether he said what he said is true or not, I just think it's kind of interesting. I said, there are people out here, how many of you have a trust, and when you build a trust, your attorney gave you a will as well? Yeah? Okay, so I do see this a lot. If you have the trust, you don't need the will. There's no point of a will. But what happens is the attorneys are securing their return customers, basically. Because the attorney that sets up trusts and sets up wills, they are also, especially ones that do the will, they are probate attorneys. The probate court, when they get all your stuff, have to appoint an attorney to appraise the assets, divulge the assets, and pay off the creditors. And it's the attorney that created the will is the one that gets hired to do that. And so they get paid. Isn't that crazy? But it's good business. Repeat customer, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Nice. Everybody's still done. Hold on real quick. So, what you need is a trust. So I always recommend to people when they ask me, like, should I get a land trust or whatever, there's 13 different trust documents in the world. 13 different styles of trust. Revocable, irrevocable, living, land, all this other stuff. My recommendation to you is to sit down with an estate attorney or estate planner. That's who the attorneys that do this. Let them know what you have, what you got going on, and they will then recommend some of these trusts for you to figure out which ones you want to do. I highly recommend all of you to do some study on this. All right? I don't like to acquiesce to authority. I don't like to just, okay, attorney, all-knowing attorney, I'm going to do what you tell me to do. Screw that. This is my stuff, not their stuff. Right? So study up on this, get some high-level understanding of what these trusts are. then go into that meeting asking questions, being curious about it and why you should do what you should do. The thing about the land trust, what I like about it so much, I'm just hot and heavy about getting my name off of everything. Like, I don't like my name to be anywhere. I used to, did I tell you guys this about driving through downtown LA, wanting my name on the buildings? Did I tell you this story? When I would drive home from the police department, because I'd have to go up 110 north from downtown South Central, and I see all the skyscrapers, and I see all the names on the skyscrapers. So I have big dreams, like, my name could be on there one day. Then I came through the classes and I was like, hell no. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna own the building, I'm gonna put somebody else's name on it. They're gonna pay me to put their name on the building. That's how I think about it now, all right? I don't want the liability. I wanna be incognito. That big word, anonymous means. Wait, I say that? Anonymity.
Anonymity.
Yep, that one. I can't say it.
Anna?
I can't do it. So, at the end of the day, we're in COVID court. Now it's COVID time. So we're in COVID court. Now, we won this lawsuit because of the way we were structured. He couldn't get past the Nevada court. He didn't want to file the other lawsuit to file the other discovery, because then if he got inside this holding company, it only held a couple other rental properties. And so we had a VA group housing in the south side of Illinois, and then we had a couple of rental properties in Ohio. The process would have to start all over. Each layer is a corporate veil. Does that make sense? So once he gets in the holding company and says, well, he holds other businesses over here, they would have to go and sue Illinois again and sue Ohio. So this is why your lawsuits stop at the property, and insurance always covers it. It's very rare for somebody to have that deep of pockets to file these discoveries. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yep.
So the thing about the LLCs is layers of protection. That's what it's doing for you. It's protecting your assets. So when the question comes down to, well, should I have every house into its own LLC? In the beginning, no. Especially because you don't have a lot of toxicity in those buildings. Unless you're flipping a house in a pretty sketchy neighborhood and the contractor isn't licensed and you hire your cousin to do it, and you know your cousin works off of alcohol and candy bars, I would separate that LLC from everything else that you have, right? Because that uncle's gonna fall through the roof, okay? And so, this is also why, like on my vehicles, I don't have any wraps on there that says my business name with my LLC. So IRS code 179 allows you to buy a vehicle over 6,000 pounds. Subsection 262 of that code allows you to drive around that vehicle every day to show that you are essentially utilizing that vehicle to look or operate in your business. So I pick up partners in that vehicle. I drive neighborhoods in that vehicle. My kids identify properties in that vehicle. Does that make sense? That is a tax write-off. I utilize that gas, those tires, those engine oils, that monthly payment on that car and my wife's car are both write-offs. We qualify the 745 hours to be real estate professionals under the IRS code because every day I spend a decent amount of hours on that laptop looking at options, analyzing property. Makes sense? There was a lady recently who was getting a whole lot of heat on this because she wrote off a yacht. So IRS 179, IRS code 179 is aviation, so jets, helicopters, nautical boats, like yachts, and then vehicles, on land, vehicles. She wrote off her entire yacht because she's a luxury real estate agent that brings clients on her yacht and goes around the Miami harbor showing houses. That is her office. It is a complete write-off. It's called. So this is why you see business owners do these type of things. Now, understand this. If you're going to go buy that vehicle through this business, so you'll lease it or you'll purchase it, and when you do that, the company, the dealership's going to ask you articles of corporation on the website, because you're buying it through that business. Don't buy the car unless the business 100% pays for it. The oil change, the gas, maintenance, all that. So I buy vehicles when I get the asset that has a passive cash flow entity coming on to me, which is tax-free, and I'm going to show you why. So the house that we're buying right now, that's going to produce the $192,000 a month yearly income, $16,000 a month, that is going to get me a new car next year. So that's already set up, okay? So I'm going to drive my car for the rest of this year. That house is going to be stabilized by April. In April, I'm going to buy another car. I'm going to get rid of the one that I have, and I'll get the $25, okay? So that's why you do what you do, because you do those routes. So you're either gonna pay the government that money, or you're gonna pay yourself that money. Does that make sense? Okay, so on the LLC side, what happened during COVID court was the judge, we were doing a whole Zoom thing. The cool thing is I won the lawsuit, but what was really cool at the end, she said to the attorney of my lender, Steve, she said, you know, whatever the legal jargon is, you know, awarded this person, that plaintiff, whatever, and then she said to the attorney, she says, go back to your client, I recommend you go back to your client and tell him to take a lesson from Mr. Siegel on how to run a proper business. So I turned off the camera and sound, doing backflips, I was screaming, celebrating. Then I got composed, put my stuff together, turned back the camera on, and I said, thank you, Your Honor. Right, I appreciate it. So that was a big kick in the groin for him, was the judge looked at our business model and looked at everything that was going on and basically shook her head and was like, you need to go back to your client and have him take a lesson from Mr. Siegel on how to run a proper business. It was awesome. So when you guys do the LLCs, you want to be, what I would recommend is thinking more on the long-term passive side. So when we get into the retirement accounts, when we talk about Monarch, I'm going to have you guys write this after we talk about it, but we're going to go through a couple of steps on this. Monarch will open up a trust for the retirement account. Okay? It's a self-directed IRA, self-directed 401k, whatever you do, it's going to be held in a trust. That trust is going to have an LLC attached to it. So there's an LLC that Monarch opens for you guys. This LLC is a retirement LLC. So it's written up and open totally different than your normal LLCs that would hold you for own properties. Are you guys tracking with me? And the reason why that is because you become the member manager of that LLC. Opening up that LLC allows you to open up a business bank account. So now you're able to transfer the funds in the trust into the business bank account, and guess who has control of that account?
You.
You do. So now when you register on the options online, and it asks for routing number and checking account number, that is the bank account you're gonna put in there because you control money. And now you can invest that retirement directly from that account into the option. And I'm gonna walk you through this, I'm gonna show you this, like I got a whole slide with colors and pictures and stuff, okay? But like, this is why we do trusts and why we do these LLCs, because now not only is your retirement protected by a trust, it has an additional layer of protection with the LLC, which also allows you to be the member manager to control the money. Okay? So we do this, we max out our retirement accounts a lot of times, depending on how much money we make during the year. A lot of business owners, what they'll do is they'll take large chunks of that money that they'll tax on and they'll put it into retirement. Now that defers the taxes because now it's into retirement, especially if you're not of the age where you gotta take the minimum required distributions, you're building up this whole retirement. When Scott is done talking, I will show you how to backdoor a traditional into a Roth and never pay tax on your retirement. And it's legal. I won't because I'll say in a few minutes. All right, so LLCs, asset protection, layers of protection. Give me your questions now. Yes.
Okay, so that's one thing that's I have a problem with, like when writing, I can't comprehend everything that's being said.
That's why you're gonna have 6 months to a year to learn all this stuff.
And so I thought it was a very important statement that you're making, and I just caught most of it, not all of it. It said keep liens away from.
Keep what?
Keep liens away from. I didn't catch the other part, but that's very important.
Keep liens.
Away from your assets?
Oh, you're talking about the.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're talking about a lien against my personal asset. Yeah, joint tenancy or joint tenancy by the entirety. That's gonna help you keep creditors to put liens on your personal assets. It's essentially your house, right? The house that you're living in, that's what you wanna think about.
You're welcome.
Your existing LLC.
I have one now. Business, so my question is, would this be a different entity in terms of setting up a LLC for the interstate aspect of
Yeah,
it?
so I get this a lot. People say, I already have a business, so can I run this whole thing through that same business? My question to you always, that's back to you, is what kind of business are you running right now?
Just a commercial cleaning service.
And so do you have clients in that commercial cleaning service?
Yes, I do.
So I would separate the real estate from your
Okay,
already
that's what I
existing
was
business.
thinking, yeah.
Yeah. Liability, right? Liability.
Yeah.
Because now something can happen in that commercial cleaning service business, which I'm assuming you're being taxed as corp on that? Okay, good. So that's an S corporation. If you're gonna hold property now, especially liens, tax liens, that's gonna be in an LLC holding company. That's gonna be separate from the S corp.
Okay.
right? Because you don't wanna pay fees on a holding type asset, especially one that isn't making like money movement. So like a lot of people will have a disregarded LLC to hold specific tax liens, because money's coming in from the county but not doing anything. It just goes in and out of that same asset. It's not it's not like a cash flow monthly income. So yeah, I would recommend.
Yeah, okay. Cause I
For
wanna be
those
smart
purposes.
about it.
Going back to the LLC and what the individual follow up on, she.
Retroactive, the LLC into an S corp.
Now, is that permanent?
Yes.
That's
Once it's an S corp, it's an S corp. You can't be like, let me take tax advantages and then we're gonna go back to an LLC. Once it's an S corp, it's an S corp, so you wanna keep running that business as an S corp.
Your, holding company is the owner of your LLCs, right?
Say it again.
Your holding company in Nevada owns your LLCs, right?
Owns the LLC?
In Illinois and.
Yeah. So I have an LLC holding company in Nevada that holds other LLCs in other states.
So when you create them in the other state, you just use the, holding company as the owner of the LLC?
Yes, so the holding company operates as a foreign entity. The Nevada court acts as a foreign entity inside Illinois, which I have to pay an annual fee to Illinois, to the State Board of Secretary of State, State Board of Equalization, to be able to operate and be in good standing in that state to operate a business. But my income tax, all the taxes and everything rolls up to my Nevada corporation. Okay, good? But it's on me. Yep.
For homes, like their own homes and cars, you can roll that into the LLC.
Trust.
To the land.
Yeah, so what I was taught and what I recommend, but again, you gotta talk to your attorney about this. Anything is of the personal aspect, personal aspect, like your personal house that you lay your head on, put that into a trust. Now, my house that I lay my head on, a little more advanced than we can pay for it, is I have my personal property in my trust held inside an LLC. So it's a business, it's a single LLC held by a holding company inside my trust that I rent from. So it's a business expense, right? So it's not a personal expense. So I get to write off the interest, 27.5 years. I appreciate, depreciate, I do all that on my personal property that I live in, okay?
My son and others, where I'm buying property. It's, 4.25 acres. I have seen my years but my question is, he's never bought.
How old is he? Okay. So you, hold on real quick, just so everybody can hear, right? So you bought a big piece of land, you guys can start a business, it's you and your son. He's never bought a house or anything. Is there a house on this land? Not yet. Okay, so you bought the land for business purposes. For homestead and business purposes. Okay, go on. Yeah. Yep, first time buyer.
But what I'm wondering is, if I put his name on that land, does he lose that first time buyer's, status?
Okay, so he's asking like, so he's gonna buy this big piece of land, he's gonna do it with his son's never bought a property. Because of that, there's these first time home buyer like benefits, yes? You guys understand that? So his question is he gonna lose, if he puts his name on title of that, will he lose first time home buyer like benefits? You've gotta talk to the bank. So talk to the bank that you're gonna get the loan through. I would say it's bank specific because I've seen people that are part of businesses, which is not personal purchases, and still have first time home buyers. Yeah, so again, I would talk to the bank about it. He shouldn't lose that ability, but when it comes to a lot of this stuff, like I have a different opinion on it now, where I don't really give a crap about first home buyers or not. In the sense of not being like, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful on this, I want you to think bigger in the sense of, you're gonna have multiple homes. I want you to think of the aspect of big business of being like, who gives two craps about a first time home buyer? If the goal is, I'm gonna buy this big piece of land on homestead, but I'm gonna have a portfolio of homes. Does that make sense? sure, there's all these incentives and stuff like that, you're gonna have more incentives as a business owner than you will as somebody who the bank and the government's trying to say, be a first-time home buyer, live the American dream, so we can tax the living hell out of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But you also talk to your son about that, because maybe your son really wants that first-time home buyer, so just talk to the banks, make sure, hey, with this transaction, am I gonna lose it if he really wants it? Does that make sense?
I'm saying lines, could I buy the property and do the baby line?
Yeah, of course you can, of course you can. Hold on real quick, let me get him and then I'll come over. You have an incorporation, and then you can run, if you guys already have a business, you can use that business to run this business all day long. What it comes down to is asset protection, liability. Think about that. So, like the example my man was giving is, I run a cleaning service, can I run this business in that cleaning service? Sure, but if you go and you buy 100 tax liens in that cleaning service, and somebody in the cleaning service decides, I don't like you, I want to sue you, and I want to take everything inside that cleaning service, that's going to include the 100 liens that you spend your time buying. Because it's inside protection and outside protection. Think of it that way. That'll help you guys dictate on what level you want to go. Okay, a couple more questions, and we're going to keep moving.
So it's LLC, the holding company, then your business is inside your holding company, then trust inside, your LLC.
You're close, you're getting there. So, this is why I like pictures. So take a look at this, right? The screen is the trust. Okay, this is the trust, and inside the trust is my long-term assets and my short-term assets. The trust holds or hugs.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you already have an LLC, you can have a trust and hold that.
Yes. If you already have LLCs and you don't have a trust, you can form a trust and put any assets you want into that trust.
So I do have an LLC now, created it specifically for home property. So not really, it's like it goes over that.
You're an attorney? No. Is he on those properties?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to sign for it too. Yeah, he's got to sign for it too. So you just go through an attorney to do it. Just like an estate planner, when you're building on a trust, they're going to ask you all the assets you have. They take the title of those assets and transfer them into the LLC that's been formed, or the LLCs into the title of those LLCs, all that information, EIN numbers, and transfer them into the trust. And it's all recorded. So the thing about revocable trusts, we don't do, you don't really see too many people unless they're of like more of a senior of age, they're kind of doing the last wishes and stuff and getting their lives in order because they know, they're done. They're on to the next chapter. They do what's called irrevocable trusts. So we don't do irrevocable trusts. Can I help you with something? Is there something that you need? Something that you need? Because I'm in the middle of something. I see every head move over here real quick. I can only do this right now because he doesn't have a microphone and I'm teaching. Otherwise, people would know how to do that. So what happens with a revocable, a living revocable trust is the minute you die, it automatically turns to irrevocable. This is why you hear time of death. So when people die, the paramedics come in and say, hey, time of death is, and they put that TOD on it, time of death. The reason for that is because you guys see all the movies where the kids start changing up the trusts and stuff like that because it's on a paper document. So they go in there real quick and they're like, 75% for me, 25%. So then they take that to the attorney. Well, the attorney has a copy of your trust. So an attorney gets time of death certificate, and all this other stuff, and they never got notification from you that you changed this, it's irrevocable, nothing changes, so it's called a dead hand. The dead hand is, because of that trust, and you set everything up, and everything's set in stone, you have time of death, there's a dead hand on that trust that can't change anything. So your family, your kids, they can't change anything. The land trust, again, is for the end and to remain anonymous. There you go. It says the anonymous, right? So that's the thing about the land trust, but inside the land trust, I have several revocable trusts. Okay? So really what you guys need to think about, we'll take a question here in a quick second, we're going to move forward with the S corps. The thing you want to think about is layers of protection. That's it, just layers of protection. My attorney, when I first did this, being a police officer, he said, Brian, how fast can you get inside of the door with only a deadbolt? I said, I can put my 12-foot boot right through that thing very quick. It'll take you no time to get inside that door. He said, what if that door had cast iron poles that went up through the frame, down through the frame, and on the side on the deadbolt? I said, okay, well now, I'm gonna have to work a little bit. Maybe you have to get a chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
He said, what if that door had all that, but also had a security gate in front of it? Started sweating a little. I'm like, I'm sitting in front of that door for a long time. It's gonna take me a while. He says, okay, on top of that, what if there was a purge door, a metal purge door that came down in front of all that? I'm like, now you're just crazy. He said, what if you rang the doorbell, all that happened, but then a minigun with a laser came out of the ceiling and pointed at that person in front of that door? I said, well, now you're speaking my love language. Okay? And he said, that is what you want to think about when protecting your assets.
Mm.
That's all it is layers of protection. And the biggest thing is toxicity of the asset. So how toxic is that person outside that door trying to get in to get your assets? Does that make sense? So layers of, just think of it that way, and that should help you dictate the navigation of what you're going to do with the businesses you currently have, the assets that you currently have, and all that other stuff. So the biggest thing to think about, so this is known as what's called the trifecta effect. You're going to hear that term a lot in this world, and the trifecta is trust that holds long-term, short-term assets. Okay? Trust that holds long-term, short-term assets. Go ahead. So let's talk about when to go for S versus L, okay? Yeah, yeah. Say that again, say that, yes. Yeah, the trust is the parent, and then the holding companies and other LLCs and children. Yeah, you got it. And yes, you can take a photo of this if you guys want to show it. Take a quick picture. What time is it? Give me 15 minutes? Or do you guys need to go to the bathroom quick? You guys, anybody need a quick break? Give me 15 minutes, just give me 15 minutes, I promise you. It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it, okay? It'll be worth it, I promise. All right, in 2018, so this is why we do the escrows. So this is why all of a sudden now we go from the long to a short. Question? No, say what's up? Yes. 1 gazillion%, yes. I don't know, like 1 Google, yes. Her question was, if I would have a trust, is it necessary to have another trust for the retirement? Yes. When you set up that retirement for self-directed purposes, Monarch will set up that trust for that to separate from your other assets. It's also for tax purposes, the way it's set up, so yeah, 100%. Okay, so something big happened in 2018, if you guys remember this. 2018 was a tax reform that happened. First time in a long time that they reformed the way they tax our money, and it was to boost the economy through small businesses. Okay, so the administration at the time was very business oriented, wanted to boost the economy, so they changed the way the taxes are written up and the way that businesses are taxed. Okay, I'm sure if you guys have at least turned on the TV maybe once for 5 minutes, you've heard all the different things that are going on with the political realm, the taxes. And so there's different ways that each one is trying to say how we're going to be taxed, and how we're going to save, and how we're going to bring down deficits and debts and stuff like that. So when 2025 hits, right, we're all going to go out and do our American duty by voting in November, and that's whoever you want to vote for. It's a very personal thing, and I highly recommend everybody do it. Come 2025, the investors, Big Daddy Big Bucks, Warren Buffett, what does he say when there's blood in the streets? Buy, 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 buy. So on both sides of the aisle, you're going to have people super scared to do anything, which is awesome. Be scared. I'm not scared. I'm very excited. Okay? So, and then how you incorporate and how you run your business, well, that's where you're really going to have to pay attention to know how you're going to be taxed. Right now, currently, even when this happened in 2018, and the administration that's there now went in and did their, 100 executive orders and struck off all the stuff that guy did to reverse everything, He didn't reverse this, because this is how great it is, okay? And so what happened here is this, 2018, nothing changed to the LLC side, okay, nothing's changed. But everything started changing on the small business side, the S corporation side. Now, I'm gonna give you guys a straight hypothetical here, we're gonna run some numbers, okay? Again, hypothetically speaking, just an example, let's run some numbers. Let's say this next 12 months, you guys rock and roll in this business, you take your tools, you take your education, you start applying it, 2025 hits, opportunity starts climbing, 2026 hits, and game over, generation, you are now multi-millionaires, okay? So what happens in this first year, let's say you made $150,000 out the gate, first year, great job. Okay, you got some deeds, you put some property, you got some liens come in, made 150 grand, okay? Well, what are the benefits that we have as a small business? Within our business, what do we get to do on some of our expenses? We get them right off, right? Some of you are gonna leave here and you're gonna be like, well, I definitely need a new laptop because I gotta do these auctions, so I gotta get a laptop. I got educated, I paid for advanced education, all that is write-offs. Everything is a write-off. These are all startup costs in your business. Okay, this is also why I put money aside every year in my business to go to ballrooms, because education is a tax write-off. I have money in what's called a DAC account, Donor Advisement Fund, which is a charitable contribution fund, which is a tax write-off, okay? We're gonna get, anybody here ever heard of a DAC account? DAF? Donor Advisement Fund? Blow your freaking minds, man. Donor Advisement Fund, okay, so we're gonna talk about that. Okay, so you have write-offs. Let's say for this purpose here, we wrote off $50,000, okay? Startup costs, education, vehicle, laptop, whatever it is, you guys did very well and you wrote off 50 grand. So 50 minus 150 leaves you with what? $100,000. Now $100,000 is gonna pass through your entity. Now it's gonna go through the K1 W2. So what this looks like is, before this tax reform, people that in self-employment tax on the $100,000. So if you don't live here, you're paying all three. Because we live here, what do we not pay here? Right, so we don't pay state tax. Okay, so it is strategic as to why some people move to Texas. It gives you a pay increase, okay? So here you have to pay federal and stupid. I want to buy something that'll give me the stupid thing. Does that make sense? All right. So what do you need? If you're going to buy a house, what is it that you actually need in order to secure? I'm going to go out $100,000 house. Well, that only gets you one house. That only gets you one house. What I was taught by my mentor is I have debt. I love debt. In fact, he used to tell me and preach in my head, and now I get it. I love debt. I have so much debt, I love it almost as much as my wife and kids. Because my debt does what in my life?
Make you money.
It makes me money. Good debt. Good debt. So I'm going to take this $100,000 and I don't want to give it to the IRS. So I'm going to split it up in $20,000 chunks. I'm going to buy 5 pieces of property. 5 pieces of property. And we're going to say that each one of these properties, for all intents and purposes, let's just say it's worth $100,000. Now, at the end of the year, when I had this tax bill of 100 grand, I had a net worth in my business of $100,000. But because I purchased something and I leveraged debt, I get to claim all of it. So now I have a net worth of 1 to 5 just by purchasing these houses. Now it doesn't end there. This is only the beginning. So I have these 5 homes. They're rental properties. Now me personally, I did the VA in Section 8. So let's just say they're regular rental properties. Yeah, you guys can take a picture of this. You can actually find this online. You can take a picture of it if you want. So, but pay attention when you're taking a picture, because this is where it gets sexy. These houses are going to produce cash flow for me, a monthly income. Let's say at the end of the year, it produced another $100,000 of yearly income for me, okay? So now my business is generating another $100,000 of positive cash flow. The IRS is going to come back again and say, Brian, you just made $100,000 positive cash flow, you now owe us tax on the $100,000 positive cash flow. And we're going to say once again to them, I swear to God, you're going to remember, you're going to hear that on Flipper or a movie, you're going to be like, that damn Brian is there. You're going to hear and think, I'm not paying taxes. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to file, there's 3 things that you get to do on these properties, but I'm going to file what's called a depreciation tax on my properties. So in real estate, for rental properties and stuff, you have 3 things, 3 loopholes that we take advantage of. Appreciation, depreciation, amortization. appreciation, depreciation, amortization. So the appreciation is the value of these properties over time do what? Go up and appreciate in value. But each year I have to take care of these properties. They have maintenance on them, right? That is called depreciation of value. There's maintenance costs. And then the amortization is the debt paying off the debt. The renters are paying off the loan, the debt, over what the government gives us 27.5 years. So for 27.5 years, I get to depreciate and appreciate and write off the interest and taxes on this property. What they did is they now have what's called cost segregation or cost seg. So I don't get to depreciate just the one big building, I get to depreciate the windows, the roof, the doors, the appliances, the electrical components, the plumbing components. I get to depreciate, I get to segregate my depreciation. So I made $100,000 in passive income over the year. My tax on that, let's say, is $40,000. But my depreciation on this is $150,000 of depreciation. You're finishing up some paperwork, let's try to get that done before end of day as well.
No, he said he'd come
All
to us.
right, great job, keep it up.
I talked to him yesterday. He said he'd come to us tomorrow. I'm gonna make phone calls. You need something, right? Coffee?
I think just wave at him so he knows you're here.
Okay. You want coffee or water?
Half a cup with cream or caramel together.
Sorry, Katie.
Turn around, so like, okay, he was able to exist. This take that.
You all right? You stretching?
Are we set up? Time?
I'm gonna get you.
I went to the other lawyer. She wanted 4,000 trust. Like to property.
Yeah, he said he would contact us. Well, I didn't want it to be right in the middle of downloading the stuff, you know. After 3 is what I thought. So. No, it's right. Just a little bit. You want to put some in your phone?
Right? Which I would have to.
Okay, thank you.
You're like the third person. Let me answer this question, everybody. I'm gonna get my properties right now at that price point. Good luck. Okay?
Saw me.
Oh. But there are plenty of sites out there that will, you have people, so
I was
this is,
standing up.
let's put these together real quick. Let's connect some dots for you guys real quick. I need you guys to pay attention. Pay attention real quick to me, please. All eyes on me. And I'm saying that to you because you guys are asking the same question.
No, they don't answer.
And if you can tell, I'm trying to repeat the question that you're asking so y'all can hear, so you don't have to ask me the same question.
Yes,
The same question.
yes.
Because I am repeating myself a lot. So, real quick. If you have money sitting in your account right now that you are not investing in, you are losing that money every single year. So, how many people here truly have a bad taste in your mouth to hold a rental property? Like, you're like, I don't want to be a landlord.
Oh, no.
Okay, good. Okay, some people are like, I don't want to be this landlord. I don't want you to be a landlord either. I want you to be a lord of land.
That's right.
A lord of land does not mess with property. They hire property management to do it. So all of my rental properties is under property management. Guess what my 8 to 10% fee is to my property management company? In my business, what is that?
Tax write-off.
It's an expense. It's a write-off. It decreases my taxes per year. Okay? So you want property management. I can't tell you how many times I get people coming in here like, I ain't paying no property management. I'm paying that 8%. I can do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Even real estate agents. Those who are licensed in real estate agents. They say, I want to sell my own house because I want to keep my commission. You know how much work you have to put in to sell a damn house? Like, this is why I don't cut my real estate agents on their commission. There's a lot of phone calls, a lot of paperwork, a lot of hustle. And that takes so much time away from the business. Be the investor. Just buy the properties, let other people manage it, and take advantage of that cash flow. So cash flow, in any type of form that you can get from your business. So I have a trademark that I have this little thing that I've trademarked, and I have a licensing fee on that trademark. Export paid, or that it's paid through an export. That monthly pay, that licensing fee is cash flow. I don't pay any tax on that cash flow. Okay? So the whole goal here is to use your money for something that you don't have to pay tax on, or tax on. So get this, DAF account, DAF, Donor Advising Fund. Donor Advising Fund. Here's another amazing strategy that you guys can utilize to avoid paying taxes. Charitable contributions in your business. What is that? It's a write-off, right? If you donate, DAF, David Adam Frank, Donor Advisement Fund, DAF. So every year, at the end of the year, if you have a certain amount of taxes, you say, well, I'm going to cut a check for this much to this charity so I can wipe out that tax. And it's a one-time payment to that charity at that one time. Okay. And then some of you I know probably have a church where you go to a church and you pay a tithing or you pay offerings and stuff like that. Those are so they should, that church should be giving you an annual statement of the charitable contributions that you give, right? So that will go towards your taxes. Well, a donor advisement fund, so here's another cool little tool that we use. I can take $100,000 that I have to owe in taxes and I can drop that into a DAP account. That account I can invest out of. I can grow that account. That money, though, is designated for charitable contributions. At some point, I have to take that money and donate it to a charity of my choosing.
And the wife owns the charity.
So I do what the Clintons do.
The wife owns the charity.
Clinton Foundation, right? Yeah, the Clinton Foundation, right? Yeah. So when I do Section 8, what qualifies my tenants for Section 8 is I attach myself to 3 nonprofits. Those that help single moms, senior citizens, and people with disabilities. Those are my qualifications for my tenants. I can't do the Fair Housing Act. I can't go to HUD, Housing Authority, and talk to a caseworker and say, hey, listen, I have a house here ready to be rented, but I only want single moms, senior citizens, or people with disabilities. I would go to jail, right? That's violating the Fair Housing Act. It's called discrimination. I can't do that. So what I do is I call the Housing Authority, I talk to a caseworker, and I say, hey, listen, I've got a house ready for Section 8, ready to be placed, replacement. Willing to take any and all that you have vouchers for. Just know, in case you have anybody that needs this help, I have nonprofits that I work with in each one of these homes that work with single moms, senior citizens, and people with disabilities. So then the caseworker, what do you think they do? They send me their single moms, senior citizens, and people with disabilities. I donate to a 501c3 nonprofits that work with single moms, senior citizens, and people with disabilities. My name is not on anything. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, so a DAC account at the end of the year, if you have a certain amount of tax, or if you know you're going to donate to charitable contributions, put it into an account that is an advisement fund that you can invest out of. My DAC account grows through tax liens. Tax liens. I buy tax liens in my DAC account. I invest in stocks in my DAC account. My account grows through the investments that I advise on. When we get in retirement here in a second, you can see how we're going to do the same thing for retirement. So by putting that money in there, at some point I have to donate it. At some point. But I take, the minute it goes in that account, I get the tax benefit on that money. Isn't that crazy? DAC accounts. Now do your research on it, look into it. It's not just easy as like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, right? You gotta do some research on it.
So all the money though that you make from the stocks and everything, stays in the DAP, and that will eventually.
For the money that is being invested, in the account, it stays in the account just like a retirement.
All go to charity.
It will at some point go to charity. Okay, let me go here, get there. We're not gonna, now please understand this guys real quick. We're not gonna turn this class into a DAP account class, okay? Just understand that. There is a limit, you gotta talk to an advisor on that. So the advisors that open up those accounts, you gotta talk to them because it's gonna be specific to your situation, okay?
Okay, so when you were just talking about with the, not just the DAF account, but the charities that you go to. For me, it would be for people with emotional disabilities. So would that qualify for
Yeah.
that kind of situation?
Charities, any charities. As long as that charities are qualified 501c3, you're good, nonprofits, things like that. So these tools are out there for all of us, not just for the wealthy. But this is what the wealthy do. Okay? Like the Clintons, think what you want about them, they're filthy rich. They have a big foundation. Right? They take advantage of the 501c3. There's tax implications all of a sudden, you're able to take advantage. Just do what the wealthy do. Don't agree with them, right? Go play in the same field and win the game.
Why do you keep saying at some point? What is the, I hear something else behind it.
At some point, you have to move that money.
Annually?
It doesn't have to be at that point.
I mean, annually, or you,
No, not annually.
that's why I was asking.
Yeah, not annually.
For the end?
I'm sorry? Yeah, when you die. It's gotta go when you die for sure, or somebody else is gonna be advising that. It works like a retirement account. It works like a trust. Yeah, so at some point, you have to move that money into charity. I move my money every year into charities. I donate to funds of single mom and senior citizens and people with disabilities. Like, I do that 100%. So, but again, you don't have to, the cool thing about this again, guys, is just you don't have to wait till the end of the year. You can put that money in now, take advantage of the tax benefits on it, and grow that retirement, grow that charitable contribution. So a DAF account, okay, DAF, take a look at it, look it up. So again, guys and gals, the point here, the reason why we like real estate is there are the real estate and business. Those are the two things. The reason why we, in a capitalistic type world, country, states, is we take advantage of the tax code. The whole point of making money is to keep it. And then to keep it is to multiply it and never lose it. Does that make sense? So that's what I keep saying. You gotta know how to make it, you gotta know how to keep it, and you gotta know how to multiply it. Keeping it is not paying tax on it. Moving it into an asset that then multiplies it, where then you get to continue to keep it. So, some of you in here might say, and I saw on some of your goal sheets, I want to build a legacy. I want a legacy for my family. You have no legacy if you aren't set up properly and you're giving that legacy to the government every year. The only legacy you're building is to the government that your kids will never know that you built. The government knows. And the government thanks you. Okay? But they don't do crap to help your family. So this is why we like real estate. And the reason why this allows it, again, for the laws, there it is. That's the law. Still standing, still going strong. Okay? Gregory versus Everett. Look this law up too, guys. Wikipedia, read it, understand it. The whole reason why the law is there is because this guy owed a lot of taxes on it, and he said, he was the first one to speak off into the IRS. IRS challenged him and said, no, you gotta pay taxes. The government came back and said, no, it's a legal right for taxpayers to decrease the amount of or otherwise completely eliminate their taxes by means which the law permits. It's just that simple, okay? Just that simple. Now, we're gonna get into the retirement side of this business. Okay, so I'm gonna have Scott come up here in a quick second, and we're gonna go into the self-directed IRAs. Because again, making that money, moving that money, investing that money, and not have to pay tax on it. So we're getting into the retirement side. The way this is gonna roll is, Scott is probably gonna take you all the way to about 11:45, 12 o'clock. We're gonna go to lunch. We're gonna take 30, 40 minutes or so, because I know here on the university, we're kind of landlocked. I don't know if Canada's open or not. But like, go take some time, grab some lunch, come back. Let's continue working through it. When you guys come back from lunch, we're going back into the marketplace. All right, now I'm going to show you my LAPD pension. After Scott talks, I'm going to show you how I did my LAPD pension. And then we're going to go back into the marketplace. We're going to run some numbers on some properties. We're going to find a property, run numbers, and then show you effectively how this works live, right? I'm going to show you how, okay, let's buy this, let's run that number, let's do this, and how this ultimately ends up to a cash flow and producing property. And then from there, we have another break or so. And then at the end of the day, if we can get you out of here early, those that are moving forward, you're going to stay here with us. So when, at the end of the day, some of you might be leaving, others, all of you are going to stay here. We have an orientation for those that are moving forward. where we're gonna be giving you our information, like you guys are gonna get my phone number, my email. I am an added resource to your team because you are now part of that network, okay? So we have an orientation with you, we got a webinar that's coming up that you're gonna be a part of and all sorts of stuff. So we got a little bit more to go before we get you guys on out of here, all right? Let me see real quick, because for whatever reason, my entire team went out the window. So before Scott comes in, I'll bring up my pension real quick. I'll do it first. No. No one called me back. Nobody even texted that. So let me show you this. I'm gonna show you what I did, and then I'm gonna show you how Scott's gonna walk you through on how to do it. So with my pension. So I had an LAPD pension, that I was putting money into, for 10 years. Now, I was making $70,000 a year, about, per year on my income. How much do you all think I had in this account after 10 years of putting money into it? 70,000 a year is what I was making depending on overtime. After 10 years, how much do you think I had in that account?
5,000.
I was maxing it out. 300,000? 150?
5,000. 5.
5?
Yeah.
That's $72,000 a year. Now, when I first heard that, I was like, dang, $72,000. And then I found out that real quick, and I was like, damn. 1 year of income after 10 years of working there? That's insane, right?
Yeah.
So what happened was, after coming to this class, we got introduced to a different retirement company before I got introduced to Monarch. So there's a lot of self-directed IRA companies that are out there. Monarch, by far, now that I have them, has been the best experience. What we do with these self-directed IRA companies is say you have checkbook control, and you're only supposed to pay an annual fee. Well, the company that I originally had, that I went with on my own research, I was getting charged a loan origination fee every time I used my money. It was weird. And I just didn't understand. I was like, I thought I had checkbook control. Didn't have true checkbook control, so Monarch gives it to you. So what happens is this. So I took that money, I said I wanted to take that money and invest it, and they said, okay, you can do that, but we're gonna tax you 40% if you take your money. 40%. So I'm like, hell no. So I rolled this money, and Scott's gonna walk me through this also and talk to you about what this looks like. But I ended up rolling my money into a self-directed IRA trust company for the benefit of me, FBO is what it's called. All right? And so what happens is I want you guys to write on the front of that page there, on that Monarch form, trust. I want you to write the word trust, and then I want you to do /LLC. Trust /LLC on the Monarch flyer. So what Monarch does is they're going to build a trust that they're going to put they're going to roll your retirement funds into, and then they're going to build an LLC. That LLC is completely different than the LLCs that you'll have to run your business. It's a retirement LLC, so it's actually built differently and taxed differently. So once the LLC was created, they moved that money into a business bank account. That business bank account, I now have full access to, which is my full checkbook control. From that routing number, checking account number that I have, I now use that and register on auctions online, and I invest all into tax liens. I go to a tax lien auction once a quarter with my retirements. Once a quarter. Doesn't matter where it's at, as long as it's a lien auction, and it's in a state that I know how to operate and work in. I then dump a ton of my retirement money into that lien auction to buy homes, parking lots, banks, liens against property, liens against hotels, liens against residential properties, whatever I believe is going to have a great return. Now, those properties are going to make a profit, those liens are going to come back, and when they come back, they go directly back into my accounts. Okay, so all the profits that I make there go right back into the account. You cannot commingle these funds. And Scott is going to tell you what that means. But what's great about this is I have a traditional IRA. So my money is tax deferred going in, meaning I'm paying no tax on that money going in, so my retirement is now building. Now every month I have these liens being redeemed and they're just dumping into my account. Okay? So now at the end of my retirement, and I'm not paying tax on that money, I have 10 times that. Okay, so now when I retire, I keep doing this, I'm gonna look like this. All right? And so what happens too is I have five VA houses in my mom's retirement account. I've got 10 in mine. So 10 of those properties that are getting paid by the government every single month is just dumping directly into my retirement account. So we're gonna go through, yeah, you can take a picture of that. This is my slide, you take a picture. So what you guys can learn right now from Scott is how to do this and why we do this. So he's gonna pull back the curtain on what I call the Wizard of Oz curtain of Wall Street and what they're doing and what they're doing with their money. Hold on real quick. I always have to do this for got the curtain as to why we do this versus just keeping our money in with our advisory funds, mutual funds, annuities, and stuff like that. Because he's going to help you see where our money's actually going in some of those accounts. How many of you guys have a retirement account right now? Okay. One of these things, when he's all done talking and come back from lunch, I will show you how I raise capital through what we call debt equity. There's a lot of people out there with just dead 401ks that aren't doing anything. When you learn from Scott how to do this little process right here, you'll be able to make it. But after that, I worked for over a decade doing Wall Street. And at first, I drank the Kool-Aid. That 401k is the greatest thing in the world. Just work hard, contribute to it. By the time you retire, you're going to be okay. That's not the case for most people. So it's really scary to be a stockbroker. You have to get different licenses to do things in the markets. For the Series 7 exam, there's 300 questions. You have to get the 72% or better. How long do you take for that test? 3 days. 4 weeks. Yep. And then all of a sudden I passed the test. And now think about it. I have a license to ruin people's financial future. It is harder in this country to get a license to put somebody in care than it is to be a stock broker. But they do live up to their name because they make people what? Brokers. So at least they live up to the broker part.
Yes, they make people.
And I think the scarier one is to be a financial advisor. It's a Series 66, it's 100 questions, you have to get about 90% or better. I studied for 2 weeks. That was it. Now all of a sudden, I can sit with you, draw the good old pie chart, and give you financial advice. What's always not good for you is always what's good for the firm. And all a license means is that you can do something. Different license, realtors is no different. So let's talk about the most popular retirement account out there. So in your notes, write down 401k. Now before we go into the different types of retirement accounts, all of them have some things in common. One of them being, what age can you start taking money out of a retirement account without 59 and a half?
Wow.
I don't know why they do it. Nobody talks like that. Well, it's 4 and 1/4. But it is 59 and a half. If you do after 59 and a half, there's no penalties. We'll talk about how things are taxed. All of these are, of course, just so you know, any type of retirement account in your notes, they all grow what we call tax deferred. And what that means is you'll never pay capital gains tax. So you want your 401ks and IRAs to grow. You won't pay tax on the gains that you make. You'll start paying taxes when you take money out. We'll talk about the different types of accounts and how they are taxed. So 401k for sure. Those of you, if you're in healthcare or you are in education, that's called a 403b or 457. All of them are the same. What it means is